The graph of a normally distributed random variable is given. Use the graph to answer the questions that follow. What is the mean and what is the standard deviation? Well, in order to determine what the mean is from the graph of a normal distribution, you have to keep in mind the fact that the mean is located right in the center of the distribution. So the mean, in this case, is going to be right along this line, and the value associated with that point is 15. So the mean of this distribution is 15. What is the standard deviation? When we label standard deviation on normal distributions, we label our x-axis in units of standard deviation. So the distance between any 2 points is going to be your standard deviation. So if I take 19 minus 15, for instance, that would be 4. If I took 11 minus 7, that would also be 4. So the distance between any of these 2 points is constant. It's 4. That is the value of the standard deviation. What percentage of values should fall between 15 and 19? Well, 15 and 19, if we look at those values on our chart, 15 and 19 are here and here. The percent of values that would fall between those numbers would be this shaded region right here. How do we find the area of that shaded region? Well, we could use the calculator to help us out, but don't forget that we also have the empirical rule to work with. The empirical rule says that within one standard deviation, there is about 68% of our distribution's area. And that only happens on bell-shaped curves. But this is certainly a bell-shaped curve. So between 11 and 19, we'll find about 68% of the data. But that is all the way across here. We don't need this area down here to the left. And the way that we handle that is, since this distribution is perfectly symmetric, there's 34% on the right-hand side of that and 34% on the left-hand side. So between 15 and 19 is just half of 68%, which is 34%. Which value has a z-score of -2? So if we think about how these labels are created, 15 is the mean, and the mean is going to have a z-score of 0. So let's call this axis here x values, and let's call these numbers below z-scores. And the z-score is a measure of distance. It's how far away a value is from the mean, measured in standard deviations. So it's measuring by counting in standard deviations, which means 19 would be 1 standard deviation above the mean, so its z-score is 1. 23 is 2 standard deviations above the mean, so its z-score is 2. And likewise, 27 is 3 standard deviations above the mean, so its z-score is +3. Going the other direction, 11 is 1 standard deviation below, so its z-score is -1. And we have right here 7, whose z-score would be -2 because it's 2 standard deviations below the mean. So the z-score that has, or the x value that has a z-score of -2 is 7.